Alright, and now say hello and welcome back to another episode of Time TENSHI. So, we just left 18th China in the 18th century, and I think we are back, it looks like. So, let's continue, let's continue, of course. It had been several hours since I went through the time window. Grandpa had immediately taken me into the experimental lab and looked over me until the effects of the time window had worn off for the other girls. They walked in and began their observations. It doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary has occurred with him.
From what I've been able to gather, he's just fine. Heart rate is normal, brain waves are still functioning as the correct wavelength. Endocrine system hasn't fluctuated. Both his estrogen and testosterone levels are completely normal, as if he didn't go through the time window at all.
Could it be that men aren't affected by the time window?
It's a distinct possibility, but I don't have enough evidence to say either way. One trip doesn't justify everything after all.
Well, just have to keep an eye on Kenji in the meantime. I'll be looking over the time window and making sure nothing like this ever happens again.
Got it. I'll stick here with Kenji and monitor his vitals.
If you find you honest, that may be so, Kenji, but we just wanted to make sure everything's alright. There's new territory we're wading through, and we just need to ensure we're being safe. I said nothing as Tensai looked over me. I could tell there was worry in his face, but also a look of complete confidence. He ushered everyone but Q out of the room, closing the door behind him. I laid there on a gurney for a while, several wires attached to various places on my chest and head. Q just looked at the monitors intently. Q, I swear, I feel fine. Q, is there something wrong?
Why did you do it, Kenji?
What?
Why did you go through the time window?
Her back was still facing me, looking at the monitors. I was confused, but that confusion swiftly turned to anger. What, you think I just voluntarily walked through the time window? Like it was some kind of midnight stroll or something?
Am I supposed to believe that it just pulled you through? As if it had a mind of its own?
I know that sounds crazy, but...
Yeah, it does, Kenji. This is a machine, a dangerous one at that. And I don't want to see anyone getting hurt. You could have seriously injured yourself when you went through the time window, accident or not.
She turned to me. She had tears in her eyes, her face scrunched up in sadness and fear.
When Michelle contacted Rose and I about you getting sucked through the time window, I thought she was sending us out to find a dead man.
As she said those words, a cold silence hung in the air. She shook, tears beginning to stream down her face. QI.
Kenji, you've only been a part of this team for less than a week, but it's my job, everyone's job, to protect you. Your grandfather brought you here, knowing how dangerous this environment was, knowing what might happen. But he brought you here because he wanted you to forget about what happened.
To forget about my family burning to death? Is that it, Kyu? My words seemed to be a punch to her face, as she had to collect herself before continuing. I'm sorry, Kenji. I really am. I know whenever you're with me, I tend to make you remember instead of helping you forget. I really don't mean to. It's just, I think of how horrible it must have been for something like that to happen. She got closer to me, walking to the side of the gurney and taking my hand. I looked at her, my face going red.
For all the things that have happened to you, the incident, the time window, all of this, you've been so incredibly strong. And me, I've been a complete mess and I'm not even the one it happened to.
Q.
And for that I feel pathetic. I get too caught up with other people's problems and emotions, and look at me now. I'm a mess.
She let out a mix of laugh and a sob, squeezing my hand a bit, snuffling as she tried to collect herself.
I just hate feeling like this, like I'm inferior somehow. I always feel like this, even before you were here. I felt inferior to Michelle because of how amazing she was at technology. Inferior to Rose because of her ability to design. And here I am, experimenting with rodents and making test chambers and...
I looked at her, squeezing her hand reassuringly before bringing my other hand to her face. This seemed to calm her. Hey, listen to me, Q. You're not inferior, okay? You need to focus on the things that you're good at, rather than the things you can't do. Sure, you're no Michelle or Rose, but when you're through the time window and you have a whip in hand, you handle yourself so well. The way you took down those two, restraining Bunny the whole time, it was amazing. And look at what you're doing here. Looking over all these vitals, making sure every single one of them isn't out of the ordinary.
That's true.
Come on, Q. I know you're stronger than this. Start acting like it. These words, while they took her off guard for a moment, seemed to put her in the right direction. She put a hand to her face and whipped away the tears. As she did, she began to remove the wires from my body gingerly with a smile.
Your vitals are normal, Kenji. If you feel anything else abnormal with your body within the next 48 hours, then please let me know, okay?
I smiled and nodded. As I did, she pulled me towards her in an embrace, and I felt her chest squish against mine. I felt my face go hot as I was locked in the hug for what seemed like minutes. Suddenly, she pushed herself away, clearing her throat nervously. Her face was a deep shade of red as well. Right, you wanna, go hang out for a bit in the entertainment room? Sure. But I was looking for different entertainment, not playing Xbox or something. Alright, all set up, ready to play me? Sure, what are we playing? Generic beat 'em up Fighter 5, Revenge of the Revenger. That sounds really dumb. Yeah, well, it's all we got right now, so take it or leave it. Oh my gosh, this is the hottest gamer on earth. She huffed, then looked at me and giggled, handling me the controllers. While we played, I noticed that she played a character with a whip. and that her movements mirrored Q's quite a bit. And she tended to kick my butt in most of the rounds. And by most, I mean all.
Dang! Step up your game, Kenji!
Hey, you've got the advantage of actually knowing how to play in advance.
Fair enough.
Say, the character you play as.
Vine? Yeah, what about her?
She seems to have a similar fighting style to yours.
Oh, so you figured me out, huh? Hehe. Yep, I'm pretty much learned how to fight through this game.
What? But how's that possible?
I know that sounds totally silly. I mean, I practiced on my own too, but I always loved how delicate yet forceful Vine was when she fought, so I started studying it really closely, taking notes and taking pictures of certain moves. Then I started taking lessons and practicing in my downtime between college courses, and before I knew it, I could use a vibe like no one's business.
Where did you take the lessons?
Let's save that story for another day, shall we?
I could see your face go red once again before picking up the controllers for another round. We played for the rest of the day, laughing and smack talking until we nearly passed out. Michelle suddenly entered the room at around 11 p.m. Alright, you two, it's getting late, off to bed.
Oh, one more match. Come on, Michelle.
No more matches, off to bed. We have some research to do tomorrow, and we also need to be ready at all time in case Grontic is up to anything. So off to bed, both of you. Meh, no fun. Alright, fine. Night, Kenji. She tackled me in yet another embrace on the couch and giggled before releasing me, standing and heading towards her room. I stood and did the same, looking over at Michelle before I left, who gave me a quick smirk. Glad you're doing alright, Kenji. I have to say, it's quite a relief. Yeah, same. Thank you, Michelle. For what? If anything, Q did all the work today. Yeah, I guess so. Michelle looked at me for a moment before rolling her eyes and pointing towards my room. Alright, Romeo, off to bed now. You never know what tomorrow will bring. Wait, what is that supposed to mean? Whatever you want it to. Now, bed. She guided me to my room. Before gently closing the door, I stepped over to my bed and collapsed onto it. Still fully clothed, more exhausted than I had realized. I turned out time traveling drained more energy from me than I initially thought. You all did quite well yesterday. Thank you, Commander. We're doing our best to make your goals a reality. Keep up the good work. Now that we have all the information we need, we merely need to shift gears into phase 2. I mean, it's good when I give that person that voice right now. And then the next time we see her, it's like the hottest chick on earth and she's talking like, keep up the good work. So, don't get me wrong, but if it turns out to be one of the hotter women that we might see in the game, then I'm going to change the voice, okay? Just lay low for a few days, both of you. We'll be able to enact Project Paradox very soon. Yes, Commander. She seems to be in good spirits. All the pieces are falling together exactly as they need to. And when the time is right, we'll be able to put our theory to the test.
But don't you find what she's planning to be attacked cool? Cruelty is subjective. If it's in the name of science, then risks must be taken. Even lives are sacrificed in the process. Whatever you say means okay.
I awoke to the smell of something sweet wafting into my nose. I'm still getting used to this bed. I stood stretching my back when not long after a knocking was heard from my door. Ooh, come in. The door swung open, revealing Rose, smiling happily.
Hello there, sleepyhead. Ready for breakfast? I could use a hand in the kitchen.
Of course. So, what's on the menu this morning, Rose?
Well, I was thinking either Belgian waffles or scones.
But if you wanted to go old-fashioned, I could whip you up a stack of flapjacks as well. Pancakes?
Yes, Kenji, pancakes.
Right.
Hehe. Come on, I could use another hand. I was making some for Michelle since she hasn't left the lab since early this morning.
What has she been up to?
Oh, the same old. Making sure everything is up and running and top-notch speed. She keeps this operation running sometimes, I swear. Now then, hand me those eggs over there.
Right, gotcha. For a while we just exchanged small talk back and forth, cooking with smiles on our faces as I slowly woke up. I could tell there was a look of worry on Rose's face, however. Rose, is everything alright?
Huh? Oh, everything's just fine, Kenji, don't worry. I was just ruminating over some things.
Such as?
Oh, Kenji, you don't need to worry. They are such trivial matters.
Rose, look. I'm here for everyone in this lab, right? I don't want you worrying about me.
Oh, it's not about that, silly. I know you're fine. You're up and walking and talking just fine.
Oh, then what's up?
I think I need to do some recalculations with the time window.
How so?
My brasserie has been a bit tight lately. I think my bosom has grown a tad bit within the past week.
Oh, ooh, her face went a deep pink hue, and I could tell by the heat in my own that it was doing the same.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. It's just sometimes I worry that the time window effects are more long term than short term.
That's all. These trips are slowly adding up for the future. Have you discussed it with the other girls? With my grandpa?
No, after all, this could all be natural anyway. I could still be developing on my own.
Still? My outburst seemed to put her off, embarrassing her further and making her look off to the side. I tried to recover quickly.
I mean, they're getting, I know, Kenji, I know. They're massive. And when I go through the time window, they just get...
She put her hands to them, lifting each one alternately, emphasizing her awareness of the size.
I don't know if I could handle such a giant size permanently.
I mean, you could deal with them well through the time window.
Yes, but that's because I've
only had them for a short while. Even in the small time, through my back aches and shoulder strain. I don't want to complain about such superficial things, but this is my body that's constantly warping and changing every time I go through the time window, and the microwave is ready. Oh, the flapjacks! Rose turned suddenly on her heel and to the sound. Unfortunately, I was a bit close to her, causing her to trip into me. Boing! There we are! We both felt the floor tumbling all the way down, with me landing on top of Rose. And my face directly between her boobs. I can't imagine worse. I kept it for a moment, my brain not registering what was going on, then registering what was going on and not registering who it was for some reason. Then finally, oh gosh, Rose. I backed my head up so quickly that I wiped my head into the metal oven behind me, smacking it so hard that it let out a metal wham. Kenji, oh goodness, are you okay? Despite the recent events, Rose was still by my side, looking at the back of my head as I rubbed it with my hand tenderly. Yeah, that's just what kinda wasn't the best place to put my face. It's fine, Kenji. I mean, you could have done much worse. You were in there. We both looked at each other, me on top of Rose, before we slowly started to laugh. Half out of nerves and half out of awkwardness of the situation. Just as the laughing fit reached its end, I looked up at the doorway and saw someone. Have you fun, you too? Grandpa, this isn't, Hey, I get that you're both young, but please, try to at least be quiet about it. Tensai, it's not like that. Whatever you say, dear. Now then, are those flapjacks burning, or is my nose just working right today? Oh gosh. Rose went into a fit of motions, rushing over to the oven. Just as she opened it, a plume of smoke blasted into her face, causing her to cough. Are you okay, Rose? Just fine, Kenji. Are you sure, dear? She nodded, wiping away the smoke from her face. Alright, well, I need... sorry, wrong voice. Alright, well, I need Kenji to be over in the lab for a bit. Michelle wanted to have a word with him real quick before the next time window trip. She nodded again and gave me thumbs up, still getting a few coughs out. It was a bit reluctant, but I agreed, promising to spend more time with her after I was through with business. So, but how it will continue, we will see in the next episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did so, just leave a commentary and a thumbs up. And if you don't want to miss any of the action, then subscribe to my channel, and then I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, your pacemaker.
Yeah.